welcome to the Straight from the Heart show from Utam Miraz. Today we have got an amazing guest all the way from India, but he's in Canada today, but he's based out of India. His name is Avijit Singh Arya, and he's an amazing man. And the reason I got him on this podcast today, he interviewed my boy, my brother, Juvan Langford, and I looked into this gentleman and I thought, you know what? This gentleman here will be adding so much value to my show, and I had to get this man on the show. Welcome to my show, Avijit, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Thank you very much for reaching out to me, and thank you for bearing with me till we figure out the right date to speak to each other.
Exactly, but it's been fun trying to be in touch with each other in two different countries, 8 hours time zones. But when you're like you say consistent, I love that word consistency, and you keep trying and keep pushing for it, you will get what's supposed to happen, I will say.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing that we over the years after continuously making mistakes, and I continue to make mistakes. Like I was reading the other day that life is all about success is all about 90 mistakes and 10 achievements, and then another 90 and then 10. But only the 10 are highlighted. The 90 people don't really talk about. But I like to talk about them because that's what makes you more confident. Uh, but the thing is that consistency is something which is very underrated. And everything else, you need to have a perfect body. You need to speak the language properly. If you're in UK or I'm in North America, my English has to be perfect, or my writing style has to be perfect. My podcast has to look a certain way because somebody else is doing it in a perfect way. I think all that can actually automatically evolves. You automatically better yourself. The thing is to go to the gym every day. If you want a better body. The thing is to go to office every day if you want to work hard. The thing is to do a podcast regularly if you want to be a podcasting. The idea is to do anything regularly. Now, what happens with human beings is that unfortunately or fortunately by some design of God, human beings are based are housed in a body which is controlled by these five senses, and these five senses are not in our control. We look at things, we hear things, and our mind goes in 10 different directions, and we automatically start judging ourselves, saying, I'm not good enough, I should stop, this is not working. Whereas when we started, we said, here we have a 52-week plan. So ideally, consistency should be for 52 weeks, I'm not going to think about what I'm doing, I'm just going to do it. And therefore, a lot of people, in the world say that, you know what, a lot of dumb people are succeeding. I'm very smart. I feel that there's something to be learned from this dumbness of the mind, which means that I'm going to quieten that part of the mind which is going on telling me to be smarter or see why others are better than me. Make the mind dumb for 52 weeks and just do what needs to be done.
Wow, do you see why I've got this man on the show? Just the first bit of value that this man's given us is so amazing. But I'm going to tell you a bit about this guy, and it's in a way it makes me feel like he just said dumb. This is my dumb moment here. This guy was racing on the streets in India, and I'm thinking, Lord, how is that possible with all that traffic in Mumbai? Where do they race? So this is the first part of the question: is how do you race in India? The second part of the question is, from the street boy racer that you were, I'm from the street as well, I can understand where you come from. How did you manage to go from there to where you are now, being ranked in the top 100 of digital India? That's phenomenal. So this question is two parts. My dumb question at the first part.
So driving was always a passion of mine. I always wanted to drive fast cars. But back then when I was growing up in India, I didn't have the money, or nor did I have we didn't have the best cars in India at that time. The fastest car was a Maruti 1000 maybe, which was 1000cc engine. Now you have that in mini bikes. So there were no cell phones, so there were no real organized apps or any way of organizing a race. So everything was happened by word of mouth, that we want to start a race at 11:30 at night on Wednesday, and everybody needs to be there on time and all of that. So it was a lot of fun. I was younger, I was fearless, I was stupid, and so one day my dad called me to his room and he said, I have only 2 minutes for you. I remember walking into his room, and he had a very serious look on his face, and I remember the smell of incense in his room. He had just finished praying, and he had these two landline phones which were off the hook. And phones being off the hook was never a thing that my dad did, because he was always on the phone or waiting for a call. Phones off the hook meant that he is serious about this conversation he's having with me. And then he said, "I've got 2 minutes for you. Either all this, you have to stop all these shenanigans. I don't appreciate all this dangerous driving and everything that you do. You have two options. One is to get out of the house, or second is to join the family business from tomorrow." Now, getting out of the house, in the culture we come from, we never leave the house. We are always staying with our parents. So getting out of the house was sort of an embarrassing thing. I didn't want the world to say that I've been kicked out. And so then, although my first reaction was that, I thought I should leave the house. How dare my dad speak to me like that and all of that. And then I think better sense prevailed. I spoke to my mom and all of that. And next morning at 7 a.m., I found myself sharp 7 a.m. behind the reception of my dad's very small guest house that he had in a very crowded area in Delhi. And I started working in housekeeping, food and beverage. I did restaurants, but I was more interested in meeting people from all over the world. And I wanted to do something internationally. The internet had just about come in. It was early 1995. Digital was not a word which was coined. Digital were those signages that used to be put on top of hotels. Those were digital signboards. Digital was not used in the internet, parlance. So we were working. I was sitting. We had a small cyber cafe in the hotel, and my dad came to me and said we should do something on the internet. I said, fine, that sounds good. So I started working, looking around. I came across a print magazine which spoke about a conference happening in New York. I went to New York and I met the Google guys, and Google guys told me how the display advertising or whatever works. And I said, my aim is to get more foreigners from the West coming to my hotel in India. And they said it's possible because they'll be able to show the ads to those people, whatever was happening at that time. I swiped the card and I came back to India. And within a few weeks, I started getting 20, 30, 40 queries a day for the hotel. We had only 40 rooms. So they started getting sold out. We started taking other people's hotels on rents. Those started getting sold out. And the journey started from there. I started being recognized by the media as somebody who's building a huge business, hotel business all over. We made 4 or 5 hotels. We were leasing 4 or 5 different hotels. So we had a lot of hotels, and I was only about maybe in my early 20s. So the media started recognizing me as the internet poster boy of India. And then after that, TripAdvisor or any other major, Facebook and all those people, when they started coming to India, they started approaching me to on to understand the landscape in India. And also I used to go around with most of these social media platforms across the country to travel and give talks on how digital can change a life of a small business owner, and you can become whatever you want. And I think the story is still the same. It's digital can change lives. So from working with my dad, then we set up a travel company that was also online, that did extremely well, and but then that shut down for some reason. And by that time, I learned a lot of stuff from about hotels and travel. And but there were no agencies in India which were focusing on travel and hospitality. So I started a company called Internet Moguls, which is an agency that I still own. And that agency is about 100 people, and we do internet marketing for brands all over the world. So now I consult with brands, and then we do execution work with the agency work with them, and I speak and I train on digital marketing. We have mastermind groups, all of that today internet entrepreneurs are doing. But I stumbled upon it. It was the need of the hour, and I was young, and I just kept going with it. So that's why sometimes I go back and I remember that did I have a plan or a vision, 5-year vision, journaling every day and wanting to reach where I wanted to? No, I was just put on a path by my father, and I had no option but to work hard. And because I was enjoying meeting people, and then the internet happened to come, it was an early mover's advantage. So things sort of happened in life. I'm not taking credit for all of the things that happened in my life. They just happened. If at all somebody who can take credit is my parents, who always told me to work hard. But yes, now that I'm going to be 40 years old, now I am working with more of a designed pattern, because now I know time is limited and resources are limited, and now whatever we want to go do cannot happen by chance. I need to now design my life on what I want to do. So I have a few mastermind groups, people who I train and consult on the weekends. These are business owners. And then there I have an online course for project managers who want to get hired better. And then I speak in different places and I consult with a few companies. And I'm only trying to stick to my ground and say I'm not going to do a lot of work, but I'm going to do quality work. This is something which I never believed in. I wanted to do everything possible that was coming my way. I wanted to say no to no one. I said I'll hire a larger team, but that sort of does not give the best value to your customer. So I realized the lesser I can do and the more time I have for to make relationships with friends like yourself, it's going to be better. It sounds scary to say, you know what, I'm saying no to business, but it's a better idea to have more one-on-one time with the people you're working with, and they automatically take you to the next level.
Amazing. That's such a good story, inspiring story itself. The main thing is you took action when your dad. That's just like a Bollywood movie. My background is from Mauritius. So our first language is broken French Creole, but I do watch.
Wow,
Sorry,
that's amazing. I've heard so much about Mauritius.
you should come one day. We'll go together. Don't worry, we'll have a
Would
fantastic time. And it's just like watching a big. It's the Bollywood film. Is the dad always stands up and gives the ultimatum, as I will say. Either you get out the house, or you stand up to be the man that you're supposed to be.
right.
And that's also a cultural background, because the same scenario in the UK or probably in America or where have you, the son will say, okay, F you, dad, I'm going. We'll go out there and try and do. But it's the upbringing, the culture as well played a massive part, would you say?
See, that's what I say in, on my Facebook page. I have videos that I do every day, and when people say what is the best, where can I go to get the best consultancy for my business or myself, my life coach, and I say go back to your parents, because nobody understands you better than your parents. What is your nature? When are you hiding facts from your own self? When are you fooling yourself? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Your parents might not know the latest technology and which apps to invest in and which company to join, but they know you, and they know what situation you will flourish under, and nobody else can give you that selfless knowledge about your own self. So staying close to the mothership is most important. Staying close to your servers is most important. You get the highest signal when you're close to your servers. So I tell everybody you should stay closest to your servers for the highest signal. And if you have if you have the highest signal, you are able to access more information, download more success into your life.
Excellent. Thank you again so much. And your show that you do, I'm really inspired by that too. I really like it. That's how I got to know you. Tell us a bit about your show and how people can access your show, and for the people that don't know who you are. Because I really want
So
people. Sorry, I really want.
I call it the Ask Avi Arya show. It's AskAviArya. Now it's my sister calls me a narcissist because she's like, you name everything after you. Ask Avi Arya show, and everything is about you. And but you know what? Over the years, I've started. I'm now more comfortable with me as a person, and so I don't mind having the show after my name. But what I do is that it started off by me in it started off by me becoming a story. I'm a storyteller, so I always since childhood wanted to, like, if I met Uttam, I'll go and tell my friends that, you know what, I met this guy, really cool guy from Mauritius. He lives in London and all of that. But the stories never came to real form because it was my version and I had to exaggerate a little bit to make the story look better and all of that. But now with video coming on the phone, I was like, if I can actually capture who I've met and then share this story, it's like you're always telling your other friends that, I met these really cool guys or these really cool girls, wherever. So I could now take videos of the people I met and then share it with my other friends. And then I said, why not make it into a show and spread it with other people? And that's how it became a show. And so there was, I didn't have any aim to monetize it or whatever. But yes, I tell you, a show can be monetized, but it has. But right now, it's like some people like to collect single malt, or some people like to, I don't know. People have expensive tastes. I like to spend money on doing these shows and meeting interesting people, and it just opens my mind. I do it for very selfish reasons. I'll be very honest. I do it because it opens my mind into realizing, oh my God, there is a completely different reality in this world, and people are living completely differently from how I am, who and my culture and my values, and they're still surviving and flourishing. So it just expands my mind, and I'm in that new uh, mode of inspiration for the next week or 10 days. And I do it for that high. It's a high I get out of it.
I perfectly understand and I resonate with you. That's the high I get when I have you in my living room when I'm doing my podcast. I'm not even in the studio. Like you said to me earlier, just keep going, consistency, 52 weeks of the year, put it all out. And yeah, thank you so much again for this valuable information. Can can you, how am I going to phrase this question for you? Yeah, Facebook Live. The problem I see with Facebook Live, and this keeps cropping up within my inner circle, is that there's a lot of people putting Facebook Lives out there with no substance, with no content. It's just pure just talking rubbish. But then
Yeah.
you do have the people like yourself and me who will be putting the content out there. But what seems to be happening with the people I'm talking to now is when they see a Facebook Live, oh, and they say, oh no, that's another Facebook Live, that's another Facebook Live. So, how would you differentiate yourself and make yourself stand out in a sea of junk to make yourself that shining star?
See, it's very easy. That's the thing. Whenever I see that there's all of this, that what you mentioned is absolutely true. Whenever you see a lot of junk, there's a huge opportunity for the diamonds to shine through. If there are only diamonds, then you have to really up your game to another level. Right now, it's not that difficult because a lot of people are not planning or thinking. I normally say that you plan one night before on what you're going to talk about. And before you go to sleep, I like to pray and talk about it to myself. And next morning, it refines itself and then you start. Some people actually like to script down everything, write everything. That is fine too. But eventually the audience is going to decide. What I definitely recommend is that to start, just to click and start a Facebook Live is actually like starting a TV station in 3 minutes. That's a very big responsibility. When I was growing up, we used to have one TV and the whole family used to sit around it and used to wait for this one program to come all week. And after that, we used to put the TV off. And now, in a few years, we've got everybody has a TV in their hands. So, if we are going to broadcast live, we have to respect the guy on the other side. If you're doing it with some friends, it's different. But if you're doing it to create a brand, then I think we should have some consistency in terms of a background. Maybe you have a background like a studio, or if you're selling, I don't know, whatever you're selling, you can have it. If you're a fitness enthusiast, you can have it in the outdoors and or at the gym every day. Or if you're selling t-shirts, hats, whatever, you do it at your shop, or you do it at the bar or wherever you're from, so that people who are looking at you know that I am connecting, I am tuning into this show. This guy talks from the bar, he's selling beers, or the other guy is selling t-shirts, he's selling from the store, or there's this housewife who's sitting at home and talking about how she takes care of the house. So people want to be part of your everyday setting, and that setting has to be there has to be it's called a setting for a reason. You have to frame it because the audience wants to see. Every biggest blockbuster movies in the world are all framed and designed so that the audience likes them. So there is an element of reality TV. I agree, people like reality TV, but I would say initially there should be some consistency in terms of the setting and the background of the Facebook Live. Number one. Number two, I sometimes feel if there's a conversation between two or three friends sitting together and having a conversation, people like to see more people rather than just one person talking and preaching to them. And third thing is there should be consistency in terms of time. So the Ask Avi Arya show comes on Facebook Live every day at 7 o'clock in the morning and talks about morning motivation while you're driving to work. Or the Uttam show comes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and talks about how it is to live in the UK, one of the finest places in the world, and talks about weather, talks about lifestyle, talks about podcasting, gets entrepreneurs on board. So whatever has to be done with consistency, setting, timing, and backgrounds. And Facebook Live is great right now. Very few people are making it work, but because, like I said, this discipline of going to the gym or discipline of working or doing well in anything requires you to do stuff even if you don't when you don't want to do it. But then, because I feel 95% of humanity does not have discipline, only 5% people win. So Facebook Live is no different. You have the discipline to be consistent, and Facebook Live is great.
I think so as well because Facebook Live for me, I've got a special love for Facebook Live. That's how I face my fear of public speaking, first of all. My
Is
coach,
that right?
one of my coaches, Raghav Prakash, he made me do it. He said to me, put a time, do your first video and get it done.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The podcast got interrupted as Avijit's connection got cut off and we've been unable to reconnect. Thank you so much for tuning in. I had to give you the rest of this content that he had. I wasn't going to put this podcast out, but I'm going to give you the rest of the content for 20 minutes. And bear with me, please. I'm so sorry about this one. But have an amazing day. Thank you so much. Live well with one another. See you next week.